What? Oh. Do you have to do a close-up of? Do you have to do a close-up of me, for Christ's sake? Yeah, the other way. That'll be my best side then. Good evening. Good evening. If you do have a mobile phone, it's probably cooking you. If you'd like to put it on silent, please. Right, huge welcome back to Tony Topping with Where Science Fiction Meets Real Life. Long-term UFO researcher and contactee Tony Topping shares previously undisclosed information regarding the UFO phenomenon. Are these craft that have been seen by thousands over the years from distant worlds or dimensions, or are they much closer to home? Have the people who claim to have had contact with strange craft or their occupants encountering advanced secret military long-term projects? Why might our military do this? So many questions. Over to Tony Topping. Thank you.
Hello there. Do you want these two mics on? Or just they're on, they're fine, okay. Hi, good evening everyone. Is anybody familiar with my material at all? Just a show of hands if you're not familiar with my material, really. Just right, okay, so some of you are not familiar, that's good, right, okay. Well, my name's Tony Topping. This talk's all about where science fiction meets real life. We'll explore tonight the relationship between me and UFOs, and you'll probably go out the door with a better understanding of what goes on behind the scenes than what you came in with regarding UFOs. There is a lot of bullshit written about UFOs and UFO contactees. There's been some embarrassing moments where people pretending to know my experiences have made embarrassments of themselves because they don't know what's going on with me, and I tend to have a policy sometimes of just keeping quiet. I also thank New Horizons here of being a bedrock of support over the weeks and months, bringing me here to do my talks. And I think there's some people from the Probe conference who have been with Probe a very long time. And when I first started at Probe, ladies and gentlemen, I didn't even have a PowerPoint presentation thing, and I'm stood up here and I'm trying to get my point across, and the battery and the laptop went on my computer, and it was a bit of a disaster. What happened is that I returned back to Probe. They still wanted me back. They still kept the faith with me. I kept on going, and it just goes to show, if you knew me from the days of the old Probe conferences, how far this has come. So I am Tony Topping. This is about where science fiction meets real life, and we're going to go deep. We're going to go deep, but we're going to go very light with it as well, because I think there you can go too heavy and an audience can get kind of, well, that's a bit heavy for us, so we've got to just keep it very light, keep the energy very good. In the United Kingdom, people who have UFO contacts are actually monitored by the intelligence agencies, and in fact there is a secret police force in operation that monitors UFO contactees across the UK. This gentleman here is a fine example of one of my harassers. He's a photo fit of a guy who stalked me for a number of years and made my life a living hell with mind control and electronic in-mind invasive technology. Now, what would happen is I could stand before you now and I could talk about him forevermore and what he did. And what would happen then is the energy in the room would go down because it's quite negative and quite nasty, but you don't want to hear that. That's what audiences said to me. Audiences said to me, move away, move into what's going on with you, and that's what I've exactly done over the years ahead. And it's rising above the silence. These guys identify themselves as the police of the silence. There is a silent cover-up regarding the fact that we are not alone. It is multifaceted. It is not easy to be a UFO contactee on the sharp end. Only last night on Southport Beach, I was having interactions with UFOs. They were doing something with me. I was working with them very closely. But I couldn't stand in front of this camera, or not because I'm being secretive, I just actually couldn't precisely tell you what was going on, because goon squads like them are out and about, and the least they know about that, the better. But fundamentally, it is all about the rising conscious of the human race. It's all about our ascendancy, it's all about our understanding, our understanding of science as well with the UFOs. It's in fact, you could describe it as a form of UFO disclosure, a very advanced one which we'll explore later. So my experiences are continually evolving. I kept journals from about the year 2000 to present, still ongoing, and I discovered that I was acting as a repeater. And I discovered that there was some ET groups that via me, it appeared, were speaking to a third party on Earth in non-local time. That basically means, as we will discover later, that time between me, the third party, and the UFOs is collapsed as one. Therefore, they may as well be stood here with me. If you were to look at time down a signal line, that's precisely what we're going to explore this evening as well. And it's part of a Black Ops communication network, as I discovered. I was an asset, actually. I've got a background in that. I was an asset. But that evolved to something else entirely, as I discovered. It's more than just a Black Ops communications mind control thing, what was going on. And in December 2015, I was threatened. My life was threatened. I shouldn't be here. The information that you're seeing tonight, I'm lucky to be alive. And what happened there, it was like something out the Four Horsemen of the Acropolis coming to see me. Because when I sleep awake. Some of us who are acutely sensitive to paranormal phenomena and UFOs see the world in a different way. And in that world, in that landscape, shall we say, came in something very horrible and very nasty. And it declared itself as to be who it was. It declared itself to be, shall we say, something, we'll put it in mild terms, it declared itself to be like something out of the Devil's Advocate, like has anybody seen the Al Pacino film Devil's Advocate? Declared itself to be something like that, and it made no apology. It was going to blow my brains out, and it gave me the precise time and date when it was going to happen if I didn't pack it in. However, that didn't happen. I was still here. It was a supernatural experience. It was not a mind control experience. And so the information you see tonight, I just hope you'll appreciate it, the delivery of it to you, because it has come under duress, kind of. I have been threatened. Some of the mind control that has been going on is demonic in nature. It's been horrendous. Images of depravity, images of all kinds of things are thrown at you. But this thing that came to visit me, that threatened me in December 2015, it carries a secret. It carries a secret. It does. It carries a secret, and I'll talk about that later, but it does. It carries a little secret. But some updates. What happened just recently? The press, for example. I'm often in radio and TV. And what happened just recently was we had a bit of gotcha journalism go on with the Daily Express. A journalist in the Daily Express sent me an email. And the email read, "Tony, these are alien UFOs over Canary Wharf, do you think? Do you think that's what they are?" said the journo. So I said, yes, John, oddly enough, you emailed me that. I've been dreaming about these things over Canary Wharf. He said, "That's fantastic, Tony. These are the UFOs, matey." He said, "What do you think? Your opinion?" So I gave him my opinion, but it was a very high-grade opinion with the mention of something very important, which is plasma phenomena. Very, very important. I mentioned all that. And he put it up in the Daily Express, quoting me verbatim. But in fact, so he said, that's actually an aircraft on approach into London City Airport, and they were doing gotcha journalism to catch us out. Which is the fundamental thing that we're up against in the public domain. There's always this kind of giggle factor, but when your life has been threatened and when you're kind of like at the sharp end, you learn to get a bit wise. I was very lucky actually with him, very lucky indeed. Mr. Simon Parkes, I'm sure you've heard of him, he was not so lucky with the press, with the Daily Express newspaper, not so lucky at all. But that is actually just recently as well. We had a witness up in Wistow near Selby in 1950. And she described to me a UFO that came over the town. There it is there. That's an actual mock-up of it. And it flew away at speed, because in my town of Selby, North Yorkshire, UFOs have been flying over the town since the 1950s. Ongoing, all the time. The interaction seems to never stop. And it's even deeper than just simply a UFO flying over your house, or flying over my house. Everybody does that. You said it, didn't you? You bet me a fiver, didn't you, on that? Okay. So, but what you've probably heard is on the night of the 2nd of May, did anybody hear of this going on all across the UK, that there was a sonic boom and there was slow red pulsing light? What happened was, I was sat in the local pub with my friends, there was this almighty boom, and I thought to myself, that's actually a sonic boom. But what's happening is, because of the UFOs that are going on over my town, the RAF from Coningsby and Linton are on regular combat air patrol over the town every single day. The very field where I predicted that UFOs would turn up is the very field that they are practicing on a regular basis, because they're expecting something. I think they're expecting something, you see. So we'll go into that. But something is going on. And at 23:45 and 0400 on the 3rd of May, while all that was going on, I was having UFO activity over my house, including a slow red pulsing light over my house circling. On a Russian website, according to a website called What Does It Mean, the RAF was scrambled to actually intercept that. over Doncaster. And according to this website, which is called What Does It Mean? The source is somebody called Saoirse Val. Rumour is that it works for the Russian intelligence services. But the thing is that she claims that the RAF, this website claims that the RAF was scrambled to intercept that and fired on it and shot it down. The Russians are a bit wiser. The Russians learnt not to do that with UFOs. There was an incident with some Russian naval divers in a lake somewhere in Russia where it is described that the Navy divers had gone down, and I think the Navy divers had saw these entities, so they went back to the lake and they went back down again with a net this time, and they were thrown back out of the lake. 2 men died of the bends, and so on. The Russians adopted this policy, therefore, of not attacking UFOs. It's interesting if you've heard of the work of Chapman Pincher, because in one of it, just as a matter of interest, in one of his books he indicates that there is an organisation within the Russian intelligence services that promotes conspiracy and promotes disinformation in order to panic people, in order to keep the fear factor going. And if it is a fear factor, as I witnessed come at me in December, and it is, it's very dark, it's very negative. There is a negative overriding consciousness upon the planet. It's present, it's there. Then that could well happen. So according to the story, that is what happened. That was the cause of this sonic boom, this UFO here. Moving onwards, we know, however, that Tony Dodd, a researcher called Tony Dodd, who's now passed away, a great guy, worked for UFO magazine in Leeds, told me the story and did a conference about it as well, regarding UFOs in the Atlantic Ocean, where NATO craft and Russian ships had engaged UFOs in the Atlantic near Norway. Our lecture tonight is going to take us to Norway. We're going to go up to Norway. We're going to explore something very fascinating in Norway. So it's interesting to note that it's all happening in Norway. According to the report, some Icelandic fishing boats had reported that UFOs were going through their nets, and so the American Navy sent ships, the Russian Navy sent ships, the American Navy, who are deeply involved in the UFO subject, decided to put an exclusion zone around the area. The UFOs turned up, and one of them, it is rumoured, a US ship disappeared. It is interesting, I forgot the name of it, but that story seems to collaborate that a ship did have a problem in that area at that time. But I don't know, but it's fascinating, the Atlantic UFO incident. So we've got this theme of the military engaging with UFOs. We've also got the theme of some members of the public being targeted by a UFO. And then we've got the theme of some of us who are a bit more up the food chain with it all, seemingly getting involved in something that we do not understand, and that, by my definition, is a covert witness. I am a covert witness, a member of the public who is involved in something that he does not understand, has all the UFOs coming in, the military helicopters, the full works, but he doesn't know why. So that's really what it's all about. This is my father, and that's me, the little Ewok there, as you can see. I know the who, the what, the where. And I know that the where and the when this is all going on is actually fluid through time. I'm going to keep referring to something called the up signal line, the down signal line. We'll come on to that later. But it's actually fluid through time. The question constantly eludes me as to why. There has been some fundamental explorations into the reason why, and that is very esoterically interesting, but I won't pin it down yet. I just can't seem to pin it down as to why all this is going on. Why, for example, did I have UFOs on Southport Beach last night? Why did I have UFOs follow me home on numerous occasions? No, nobody tells me anything, but everybody seems to know what's going on with me. Or do they? That's the question. That's my father. He was an amazing healer. He really was an amazing healer. He brought people back from the dead. He healed cats. That's him stationed in Vienna in 1950. And there was a spy ring running in Vienna in the 1950s by the KGB. The CIA were monitoring it at the time. And he was approached by the KGB. And he had to report it to his superiors. The KGB approached him, and it is rumoured that he had to report to superiors. Luckily, he didn't get involved, but you can't help but think that because of his abilities that he was approached by them, because at that time Czechoslovakia, America and Russia were running psychic warfare programs. They were running them. The thing with my father, as some of my psychic friends have concluded, is that there's a possibility that he was targeted by the same people I was. Remember, I said fluid through time. In this game, time doesn't exist. So there's a possibility that he could have been targeted. It was a very bad relationship that I had with him. He wasn't a very nice man, and it really was quite abusive and not good. And it's a tragedy, really, but that's him. He was a good healer. And I do wonder, in fact, a family member got into bother, actually, I remember it quite well, and she worked at a location, and he sat in the house one evening, closed his eyes and said, "I hope the place burns down," and he blew the boiler house up. Luckily there was nobody in it, but the place burnt down, the fire brigade was there and everything. This is the kind of thing that he did, and of course that would probably be passed down the line to his son, me, who is having all these strange paranormal experiences. I rang my local council. This is the kind of crazy circus that goes on here. I rang my local council in January 2016. And what happened was, when I picked up the phone, I had this American lady go, "Yes, okay, oh, sorry," like that, as if she heard me on the phone. I then dialed the number, and I was put through to somebody in Germany who started speaking fluent German. I said, "Sorry, wrong number," and put the phone down. This happens all the time, and it takes us to a call I made to NATO headquarters a few years back, and I was looking at something called the Assessment. Has anybody heard of somebody called Staff Sergeant Robert Dean? Nobody? Anybody? Yeah, okay, you guys will have, the veterans there will have heard of him. Yeah, so Staff Sergeant Bob Dean, he worked for NATO in the Supreme Headquarters, and he said that there was an assessment carried out by NATO as to why UFOs were coming in over one area, over the Russian border, and Western UFOs were coming in into Russia's border. Both sides thought that there was going to be a nuclear war. It was being triggered by UFOs. The assessment, NATO's assessment, read some startling conclusions, which is this: we are the target of a survey operation. There are several groups visiting. There is no military threat from them. The threat's probably from somewhere else, I would conclude. They're very advanced, and there's a technical base of hundreds of years ahead of us, and I guess more advanced than us, which there is, which we will explore later. I'd estimate it at about 700 years ahead of us. The NATO assessment, I have some further thoughts on it. As we well know, there's probably some hybrid integration going on with our children. There's the possibility that their children are actually kind of integrated into our society in some way. Some ET, now this is the fascinating thing that I've concluded in over 40 years of experience in dealing with this. You may have heard of cattle mutilations, and you have obviously heard of alien abductions. Who hasn't heard of alien abductions? I'm sure you all have. What the situation is going on here is that the NATO assessment concluded, and it shocked a lot of the military, that aliens look like me and you wouldn't know. And the thing is that they could walk in this door here and you wouldn't know them. But there is slight facial structural alterations. There is kind of, the eyes might be a bit more round here, the nose structure might be different, the forehead might be concertina shaped. Some of the galaxies out there, according to my experiences, are populated. This is all through observations through time, using something known as a space-time continuum. And the observations come in through that. So it's quite an advanced form of psychic seeing in a way. But what is interesting is that there is a monitoring of our collective consciousness by all kinds of esoteric forces, because we carry a divine signature within us. We are very unique as a human race. But this is the interesting thing, because those ET who look like human beings, who look like us in other galaxies, may also face the same problem of abduction by other aliens. And I have to say that it does go on. It is present at the moment, and I think that the United States government should hang its head in shame as to who it is in bed with. Because when I interviewed Eisenhower's great-granddaughter for my radio show, she said that her great-granddad had 3 heart attacks. That nobody seems to know about this, but he had about 3 heart attacks because he discovered the truth about what was going on. Part of it is the mutilation kind of alien cattle thing. A woman from who worked for the civil service approached me at a conference to indicate to me that she worked for the civil service, now retired. She could have stood up here where I was, but she knew what it was like to get heat. And she said that during her course work in the civil service, she discovered this, and they were very concerned about it, and she couldn't stand up here and talk about it because she'd get heat. There's also as well a guy called Alec Newald. Highly recommend his research and his book to you. It's called Coevolution. It's the story of how he was taken for 10 days to an extraterrestrial civilization. There's some astounding conclusions, some astounding things that the aliens said, and it was this. One of the things that they said was to him that the Earth is ruled by a dark energy. It is a form of life that must be respected. And that's the key to it. So what happened to me in December is this very form of life that they're talking about, this dark energy. It came for me big style, and it threatened me, but I respected it. It's a very unique and strange position to be in. I respected it, and I felt sorry for it, and it went on its way, and it's caught in its own hell. But I think that if I hadn't respected it, or I hadn't have I'd done something stupid, I might not have been here to tell the tale. It was a very serious situation, very serious indeed. It was ready to blow my brains out.